72% of developers think Steam is a monopoly when it comes to PC gaming, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you why they're wrong. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. Before we jump into it, I'm so close to 100,000 subscribers. Thanks for sticking with me. Subscribe, set your notifications to all, and if you want to see my Deck Ready shorts earlier than you'll see them on YouTube, follow my Instagram and Twitter. The Instagram is deck.ready, and my Twitter is deck_ready. Both are linked in the description, but let's get into the video here because I want to respond a little bit to an article I read over on gamesindustry.biz that says 72% of the developers they surveyed think Steam has a monopoly on PC. I think they're using tricky language if we're being real, because if you look up the definition of a monopoly, Steam is by no means a monopoly. I mean, other storefronts exist. And also, like, we're doing this 2025 nebulous speaking talk where everything is so divided, where if you just say something, everyone on your side is going to agree with it and try to speak it into existence. So if they say Steam is a monopoly, other people are going to think, is it worth having a bunch of people attack me on Twitter to say that it's not a monopoly by definition? No, Steam is a monopoly, right? But I'm going to respond to it here on my YouTube channel because it's really been bugging me and I've seen it come up more and more lately for some reason. So why are developers calling it a monopoly? Well, that's a really simple question to answer. If you release games on PC across every available storefront like Xbox, Epic Game Store, and Steam, 80% of your revenue is going to come from Steam. There's no ifs and or buts about it. That's the number that's been determined where all their revenue comes from. So if you skip Steam, you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to game sales. And developers don't like that because it feels like all their eggs are in one basket, and Valve could wake up tomorrow and decide to be evil and say, hey, we know you all hate paying 30% of your revenue to us every time you sell a game, but now you're going to have to pay 70% of your revenue to us. Go to a different storefront if you want. Chances are they won't, because they know the vast majority of PC gamers are on Steam. But I don't think they have to worry about that as much as they are, to the point where they're kind of starting a mini war with Steam, because PC gamers are built different in the sense that they don't really have that much brand loyalty compared to someone who loves the Nintendo Switch 2 or loves the PlayStation 5 or loves the Xbox Series X. Like, we've seen this play out on the console side a ton over the past generation where, you know, Sony has the dominant position. They've done a lot of anti-consumer friendly moves like charging more for PS Plus, adding in different tiers. The most expensive tier doesn't have great benefits, things like that. And PlayStation fans really do like showing up to pay for it because they feel like they're helping their team win. And on the console side, I guess I understand that, but PC gamers are different, right? Like, the key reason PC gamers love using Steam so much is because Valve bends over backwards to make sure that they have the best platform to play games on PC. The biggest win for me when it comes to Steam is that games I bought 15 years ago are able to be downloaded on as many PCs I want. As long as I'm logged into Steam, I can download my copy of Left 4 Dead 2 on my Steam Deck, my ROG Xbox Ally, my Legion Go S, my Windows PC over there, my Bazite PC upstairs. Valve doesn't care. They don't want me playing logged in on both of those devices at the same time. But as long as I'm logged in on those devices, I can download that game as many times as I want without limits, and that's excellent. When it comes to playing online, it's completely free on Steam. You got to pay for it on Xbox, you got to pay for it on Nintendo, you got to pay for it on PlayStation. It's a monthly fee on top of the fee you're already paying for internet to use the internet you're already paying for. That does not exist on PC with Steam, and it never has. I love that. Steam's online services also work great. I never have multiplayer issues, and I've also heard they go through effort to make sure it's easy for developers to set up on the back end. So if you're making an indie multiplayer game, they take a lot of the weight off your shoulders when it comes to setting up netcode and everything like that. And the benefit to them is that people will play multiplayer games and spend money because it's such a seamless experience. They also have great sales throughout the year. They tell you exactly when they're going to be. So if you're waiting for a very specific discount, you know the sale is coming up in a week and you don't have to roll the dice and potentially buy a game that's going to be on sale in just a couple days, right? Like, they know how to make it easy to get the best price on games. They also have a great review system that people really swear by when it comes to buying games, right? Like, we saw this earlier this year with Helldivers 2, where Sony, months after the game came out, added in a forced login to the PlayStation Network, or talked about doing it, that would have deactivated a game people bought in like 150 countries. The reviews went to very negative in like less than an hour, and Sony quickly reversed course because they know if people go to the Steam store, go to the Helldivers 2 page and see a very negative review, they're way less likely to buy the game than they would be otherwise, capitalize because they're like, hey, a lot of the people who are playing on PC don't like this game right now. So they reverse course, the reviews were fixed, and more people bought Helldivers 2. So we know that PC players are not afraid to share their opinion, right? Like they're going to go out of their way to stop Sony from adding a forced login. And I would think that if Valve made a very anti-consumer friendly move, like charging for online, the fans would be outraged and they would let Valve know with their wallets. They'd stop buying games on Steam. Valve would stop making as much money as they do. And maybe even potentially these gamers would start looking at other storefronts like the Xbox app or the Epic Game Store because they felt burned by Steam. And I think when it comes to PC gaming, it would take a lot less of a problem to make something like that happen than it would on, say, Nintendo or Xbox or PlayStation. Like, you know, if PlayStation makes a very anti-consumer friendly move, it would take a big one for people to jump ship over to Xbox or vice versa, right? Like on PC, you have those other options like the Xbox Store or the Epic Game Store that you can take advantage of. So if Valve critically screws up and does something extremely negative, I don't think it's all that difficult to switch storefronts, and I don't think people would be scared to do it. The point I'm trying to make here is that people use Steam not because it's the only option or a monopoly. The reason people use Steam is because they like using Steam. And it's not like Valve is just arbitrarily charging these developers 30% of a cut. They're providing a service as well. They're providing a massive storefront with the vast majority of PC users, and they do a lot of work to put those games in front of your eyes, right? Like they've built features like the discovery queue where it looks at what games you're putting a lot of time into and says, hey, you really like Arc Raiders right now? Maybe try out Hunt Showdown 1896. It's an extraction shooter that, you know, Arc Raiders pulled a lot of features from, and you might enjoy that game. I mean, obviously that benefits them because you're spending money on Steam, but 70% of the revenue they make off that sale goes to the developers. So they're doing the work to make sure games are bought and sold on Steam. So I don't think the 30% cut is really unwarranted, and they're not charging for online or any of these other extra features. So part of the cost of making Steam as accessible and free to use is that they take 30% from the developers. It's not like a one-way street, right? Like they're providing a service as well, and I think it's fine that they charge for that. And I don't want to overestimate how much PC gamers really care about that, right? Like if they did tomorrow wake up and start trying to charge 40 or 50% to the developers, I'm sure a small vocal minority would be upset, but as long as the service remained the same, I think people would continue using it, as evidenced by, you know, Epic Game Store trying to make a news story out of charging less to developers. I think it's like 10%. And when you use Unreal Engine 5, your first $1 million in revenue is free. You don't have to license the engine until you make that. That's good, but I don't really care because the storefront system they provide is garbage. It runs slow. The downloads are slow. It's a resource hog. I don't like that they made games like Alan Wake 2 exclusive for no reason other than to force me to use that store. And also, I don't like that they keep Fortnite exclusive to that store. And I don't like that they're buying developers and giving benefits to them to, like, you know, make their game or some portion of it exclusive to the Epic Game Store. I think that's scummy, and it's cheating your way into competing instead of just doing things right, which is make better games and provide a better experience. Build out your storefront to rival Steam and add features that Steam doesn't have. And the reason I think that would work is because that's exactly what Xbox has been spending 2025 doing. They've put so much effort into rebuilding the Xbox app to make your PC feel more like an Xbox. And I can tell you firsthand that that works because I use my ROG Xbox Ally more than I use my ROG Ally X and my original ROG Ally. I just like using the Windows experience on it, even if it is janky, even if it does have a long way to go. Instead of immediately installing SteamOS on that thing, I use my Steam Deck for SteamOS and I use the Xbox full screen experience on the ROG Xbox Ally. And I will reiterate that where it's at now is not great. It's fine. It works. Everything can be done with a controller, from buying games to downloading them to launching them, but I have a million complaints to go along with it. Like the art system is terrible. It uses the small, like 100 by 100 pixel picture for all these games, whether they're from the Xbox app or Steam. I don't like that you can't add your own apps like OBS to the app launcher in the Xbox full screen experience. I don't think it kills enough of Windows's resources. I don't like that it ships with Microsoft Teams. I don't like that the keyboard stops working when you're using a controller 5 out of 10 times. Like there are major issues to work on, but I'm not installing SteamOS on that thing because the idea of having a PC that works like an Xbox in addition to my SteamOS devices is kind of cool to me. And I don't know why they're suddenly waking up and deciding to do things that are cool and will benefit their users instead of just throwing their storefront on Windows and saying this is the only way to use Play Anywhere and get your save transferring with Xbox. But I'm not complaining about it. And I think Epic could do things similarly and see a little bit more success, because all they've really done up until now is make games exclusive, have a garbage app, and also give away free games. And I don't want to complain about that because a lot of the games they've given away have been really good. But I spent the last 15 years building up a Steam library. So if you're giving away a game I already bought, I'm not going to add it to my account for free because I don't want to use the Epic Game Store because of Epic Games' business practices. They're just annoying to me. I have apathy towards them, and they're going to have to do a lot of work to fix that. And I know a lot of other PC gamers feel very similarly. And I understand why developers are being so ruthless about this, because they feel like they might have a chance to reduce that revenue split. And if you're an indie developer who's not selling 3 to 4 million copies of your game, that revenue split really does make a difference to your take-home pay at the end of the day. But you know, you got to work with the audience of your games, guys. Like if your audience really likes using Steam and Steam wants to take 30% of your cut, sorry, you're just going to have to deal with it and make a better game that people really want to play. Like there's no shortcuts around that. You got to make a good game that people want to spend money on and leave a positive review on Steam for. It's really that simple at the end of the day. And I'll tell you right now, over the past few months, the stuff that's really put me on Valve's side the most is a lot of stuff that developers and publishers are doing that are just straight up negative, like, you know, releasing games that are 60 to 70% done. Most recently, Monster Hunter Wilds, they released that on Steam in a completely broken state. Like the amount of hardware that you need to get acceptable, not even good, but acceptable performance in that game costs thousands and thousands of dollars. It defaults to frame generation on. They completely whiffed it in terms of patching the performance over the past few months. And in their recent earnings reports, they've said it's because they assumed most people would play on PS5 and they were shocked to see that most people played on Steam. And it's crazy that Capcom even thought that, because Monster Hunter World has been one of the most played games on Steam since it came out. And I think more people play it on Steam than they did on PS5. But even putting that to the side, discounting the performance of one platform because less people are, in your opinion, going to play on it is super scummy. And all these other developers are forcing people to upgrade their hardware by using Unreal Engine 5 and forcing features like Nanite and Lumen, even though, as we've seen with games like Tokyo Extreme Racer and Arc Raiders, if you don't use Nanite or Lumen in your games and spend more time building out good lighting that's baked in, the game will run perfectly fine. And you can even play games like that on potato hardware like the Steam Deck. And then you've got developers like Ubisoft going out of their way to try to kill things like Steam number tracking, you know, like Steam charts where you can see how many people are playing a game concurrently. People are using that to show the health of games like Destiny 2 or figure out how many copies a game has sold. And I know there's YouTubers out there who use that negatively, like to make fun of a game or say, look, this game that we don't like only got 100 concurrent players. It's an absolute failure. We're right in our crusade online. But I'm not even talking about that. The fact that that exists is really cool, because on the movie side, you could see how much money a movie makes in a weekend. You know its budget, you know to the cent how much it made on its opening weekend. You can track the drop in percentage from weekend 1 to weekend 2. And I get why developers don't want that to be the case with games, but once the genie is out of the bottle, you look like a complete asshole if you go out of your way to try and put it back in. And then every publisher, from Ubisoft to EA to PlayStation to Xbox, they all force you to either use a launcher or log into their special little network. I know Arc Raiders does it with the Embark ID, but that provides cross progression, so I'm fine with it there. And it's like a 2-second setup and it remembers even if you delete the game. That is not the case for the other publishers, and it's just an annoying extra step that stops you from playing games on devices like the Steam Deck. And really, they have no reason to exist. So there's 4 major reasons I'm much more on Valve's side than the publisher. And if developers want to paint Valve as a monopoly and Steam as a monopoly, that's fine. I think just most most of the people on PC are savvy enough to see through the bullshit there. And if they really want people to start taking their side more, they should put more effort into finishing their games. They should put more effort into making sure their anti-cheat works on Linux. They should put more effort into, not charging $80 for games like The Outer Worlds 2 and then reverting it to $70 when you actually get backlash for it. They should put effort into not buying exclusivity for their storefront like Epic did with Alan Wake 2. They should not be buying third-party exclusives like Epic does. Alan Wake 2 is kind of a wishy-washy one because they did fund the development, but there are so many examples of them buying one-year exclusivity, which is just super annoying. And really, they should be thankful that people are even showing up to buy their games at all at this point after all the bullshit they've put us through over the past few years. I mean, they're lucky people even want to play video games anymore, and suddenly they're waking up to the fact that people are playing old games instead of buying new ones, and they're scratching their heads as to why. Look at what Steam is doing and take notes, because if you want to make people want to buy your games, use your platforms, and give you money, do what Steam is doing, because that's how you end up in a situation where developers who know you aren't a monopoly are going out of their way to call you one. So yeah, to wrap this up, Steam is not a monopoly. We know that, the developers know that, but maybe now you kind of have a little bit of an understanding as to why they're calling it one. I'm sure you knew a lot of this because it's not that difficult to figure out, and I am by no means a genius. And really, I learned all this just by playing games on PC. So if you're doing that, it's not that hard to figure this stuff out. And now that we're at the end of the video, thanks for sticking around till the end. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I have no idea how this one's going to perform. I'd love to do more videos like it in the future. So if you enjoyed it, I don't know, thanks for watching till the end. I've subscribed to the channel, set your notifications to all. I'm sure you already did if you're still here. You kind of did the thing that makes me want to make more of these videos. So you get the biggest shout out of all. Thanks. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on. Oh, and if you're new to the channel and you're still here, what does shape on mean? I've seen a lot of comments about that. Michael Myers in the original Halloween is called the Shape in the credits, and someone on my original channel, which was covering the Halloween franchise, said it in the comments. So I started ending my videos like that. It's shape on. Michael Myers is the shape. You're shaping on. I'm shaping on. That's all I got for you. Goodbye.